All right, once again, welcome to the workshop on accepting the mantle of leadership. My name is Donrell Johnson. I am your host for the day. We're going to go ahead and get started. Again, hopefully you have something that you can write on, kind of follow along with me as I throw out some things today. This is going to be very thought-provoking. I encourage you to share it with other men. I encourage you to invite them into dialogue. I encourage any social media groups that you're on, any community organization you're involved with in your church, in your home, any men that you are associated with. I'm asking that you take this information today and go for it with it. And I would love to hear the feedback that you're getting from it. Here's my purpose for doing this. I think right now there's a time in our life in society where men are just needed in a major way. We are present, but not necessarily present in the manner that we should be, in a more impactful and dominant fashion. And when I mean dominant, I don't mean aggressive. I'm not talking about bravado, a macho ego format. I'm just saying in our actions. Not necessarily in our words, but in our actions. I feel like there's just a lot more that we could be doing right now to serve whatever your area of life, any environment we're associated with. And so those are some of the things that I'm going to drill down on today, and what I feel could be affecting how impactful we are as men. So we're going to dive into some of that. So first and foremost, when you look outside, you check the media, many are different environments, we can't help but see that the world is in a state of chaos. There's a lot going on right now, with the climate as well as the weather, and things of that nature, but just people in general. There's a lot happening where people are no longer communing with each other, getting along, and so forth. And so I feel like the men are kind of responsible in a way, how we're conducting ourselves and how we're working with each other to complete a goal or to get to where we desire to be in life. In some ways, I feel like we're working against each other. We're not necessarily pulling our resources together and doing what we could be doing collectively. And there are a number of different reasons why I feel like that is happening, and so that's some of the things that we're going to cover. One of the issues that I see happening is that many men today are living in lack of self-worth, lack of vision, lack of happiness, lack of trust, lack of understanding what true leadership is, lack of spirituality, lack of mentorship, and lack of maturity. And those areas are some of the reasons why we see things happening, or many of us today may be feeling and experiencing things happening in our personal life. And it's simply because of lack, and we've become comfortable with that lack. And so what plays out in other areas of our life is how we feel we are handling that lack, or the thoughts of that lack. And when you think about men, we are designed to help other men achieve greatness. And this is an area that we've got to do better at. When you look at women, it doesn't take a lot for women to encourage each other. In most cases, women get together, they talk about things, they share certain areas of their life, secrets, so to speak. They just spill the beans. That's a part of them being relational. But men, we don't really share what we're dealing with. We don't share what we really have going on. In fact, most of the time when we walk outside of our house, we're told that we have to be strong, that we have to not be sensitive or show any type of emotions, or really have a sense of weakness when we present ourselves in the world. So with that, we are very good at masking what is happening internally in our life. It is our job to enrich any environment that we're in. It's our job to provide and protect for our families. And it's our job to leave this world, as well as our family, better than what it was while we were here. And so that is our mandate. When you think about it, that's what we're supposed to do with our life, is to leave this place better than how it was when we were here. The reason why we're struggling with those things that I just mentioned is because we are failing to reject being passive. I find that men today are very passive In some areas of my life, I have to catch myself when I'm being passive, when I should assert myself. I'm kind of playing the background. When I should do more, I'm kind of giving myself a pass. When I should work harder and achieve better goals for the right reasons in my life, I'm probably, shunning away from that a little bit. Some men are not accepting responsibility. We're kind of stepping away from knowing that we are supposed to lead, not just our families, but everyone around us, but lead properly, not positional leaders, but leading in a way where we're developing and lifting up other people around us that we should be leading as well. We're called to be courageous. Not courageous in the sense that we run out and we beat our chest and we want to fight everybody that crosses us or challenge everybody that, says choice words to us, but courageous in our efforts, courageous in how we spend our time, how we spend our money, and how we make our impact. And then we have to start investing in things eternally. Whatever your spiritual walk is in life, it may be different. We have different backgrounds, different walks of life here today, but are we effective in that area and in sharing that walk or that area of our life with other people? However you choose to do it, it should be some sign or resemblance that you are a faith-filled person or a spirit-filled person, or that there's something leading you in a way that you just know that everything's going to be okay and that your steps are ordered. And then it's very important that we build strong relationships with other men, not just in words, but in real relationships. And with the event of social media, most of our communication today is behind buttons and screens. Very seldom are men getting together anymore and talking about things that are important to them. Very seldom do we actually pick up the phone and give each other a call or really dialogue about what may be challenging us. In fact, when you think about it, most men don't even have their top 5 influencers. And what I mean by that is that people who can help them or give them good advice or a good word or good information in times of struggle, in times of need, in different areas of their life. Most men don't have that. They have a lot of guys in their environment that just enjoy being around them, mostly for entertainment reasons, never really want to do anything or challenge you in a way that causes you to be better. They're more concerned about maintaining your friendship than they are about helping you develop and just be a better person in the world. So that's one of my ultimate goals, is to position us in a way where we have a network of guys that are just challenging people to be better. There's a book out called 360 Degree Leader. It's written by John Maxwell, and he talks about the importance of learning how to lead from whatever area you sit in. A lot of men don't even see themselves as leaders. A lot of men are introverts. A lot of men think that you got to have a certain personality or a certain spirit in order to stand up and be counted on as somebody that is moving a generation forward. And that's not necessarily true. You can lead from wherever you sit, wherever you are in a house, wherever you are in an organization, wherever you are at your job, wherever you are in your church, your synagogue, your mosque, whatever it is that you do as a man, you are able to lead. First, you got to be willing to lead yourself. That's the most important thing, because if you have nothing to give, you can't pour out to someone else. Number 2, you got to be willing to lead in your home, whether you're single or married. There got to be things that you stand for, values that you represent, stuff that are just not questionable when it comes to how you live in your personal life. And then you got to be willing to lead in the world. And a lot of times, men, we don't feel like we've accomplished enough. We haven't done enough to earn the respect of other men. We feel like we haven't made enough money, or we don't drive the right vehicle, or we don't live in the proper neighborhood in order to encourage or uplift another man, or to exemplify for another male how to do something. Or some men just feel like, I need to mind my own business, to each his own. And that's not how we're designed. Okay, men are designed to commune with one another. And everything in society has us working against each other. So a lot of that is what I'm going to share. Here's another quote. If you wait until you have a position of leadership, many times you'll never begin leading. Leadership is influence. It is not relying upon your position or title. It is relying upon your ability to guide and connect others. So a question I like to throw out to you is, how are you guiding and connecting other men in your life? Okay, family members, and even the men that you don't know. You know, how often do you pass a male that you don't even know and just figure out a way to connect and give that person some encouragement to do better? In your life, you're going to come across two types of men for the most part. You're going to meet a man that is flowing in life, and you're going to meet a man that's groping in darkness. The man that is flowing in life, everything about him is light. It's bright. It's about knowledge. It's about just giving life to other people, encouraging and uplifting people in all that they do. Are they spiritual? Do you know that they follow a code, you know, a certain path in life? They live for other people. They believe in the community around them, and their speech is positive as well as their actions. And they're optimistic. They always believe that there's an opportunity for them to do better, do more, accomplish more, achieve more, to be successful in whatever it is that they want to attempt, okay? Or you meet men who are walking in darkness. Everything about them just kind of breeds trouble. They typically are selfish. They live for themselves. They say things like they're self-made. Their words and actions are negative. They're pessimists. They typically shoot down any idea or anything that can move people in a certain direction. That's their goal. And a lot of times, these are individuals who will hide themselves in saying that they are the devil's advocate about whatever is being discussed that could potentially progress mankind. So those are the two types of men that you're going to meet on your journey. And what's going to be funny is, over the next couple of weeks, as you're in circles and you're dealing with men and you're talking to men, this is going to come up for you. And you're going to start compartmentalizing the men in your life in these different areas. Now, it doesn't mean that you're better than them or that you have something that they don't have or you're above them. What that means is, your objective is those men that are around you. Your goal is to get them out of those dark areas and start to bring them over into flowing in life. Okay, this is important. So what I'm asking you all to do today is to learn to step up in every area of your life, in the areas of spirituality, in the areas of health, in the areas of relationships, in the areas of your finances, your career or business. Here's what I mean. Spiritually, whatever it is that you believe, okay, whatever it is that you profess, right? Do more of it and share more of it. That's all I'm asking. In the areas of health, as men, we have to do better in our health. We have to eat better, okay? As our health goes, everybody around us health goes. If you look at men based on how a male is built, typically his whole family, for the most part, will kind of follow that same format based on genetics. Some things are a little bit different, but the way the male eats, the way the male drinks, the way the male takes care of himself, most of the people in the home will start to do that exact same thing. As well as, if you have a close group of guys and one guy in that group is very health conscious, typically when you go out with that guy, you will change how you eat. You will change how you drink. You will change what you're thinking about, what you're talking about, at least while you're around that guy. And then when you go and be alone by yourself or whatever, you know, you'll do whatever it is that you're into doing. Let's get better in our relationships, whether it be with our significant others or whether it be with friends, you know, family members or new people that we're meeting, learning to communicate effectively, learning our strengths, learning our personality traits, and just knowing certain personalities naturally clash. But if as men we learn how to work through that and make those personalities work together, we can become very powerful in what it is that we do. Finances. I'm not talking about trying to get rich, even though if that's your goal, go for it. But just simply managing your money properly and having a budget, you know, and living by that budget. And then your career. You know, many gentlemen today are not happy at work. And when a male is not happy at work, the wrath of that unhappiness will play out in his family's life. So a lot of times you cannot look to your job to create happiness. You have to learn what your strengths are, what your personality traits are, and how you should be representing yourself in the world. Then you figure out, no matter what's going on at work or with your boss, you figure out how to do those things at your job. Okay? Or it may be time for you to step out on faith and start your own thing, or begin to become more active in things outside of work. I don't know what it is for you, but it may be that time for you in order for you to create that happiness that you're looking for. We got to start encouraging each other. I've said that before. And learn to be creative with your wife and your family or people that you care about. Learn how to make memories. At the end of the day, it's not about how much money you spend or what you can show people that you have. It's about memories. It's about those photos. Those photos that years from now you'll be able to look back on and remember what happened at that moment. Okay? Or when it's all said and done and you've lived your life, what you'll be able to leave behind is the captures of those special moments. So many men I know have never left their city. Many men have never left their country. There are men I know that haven't ever flown on a plane, taken a boat anywhere, gone on a fishing trip. Just whatever area you're in, when it comes to males, find something that those men have not done and challenge them to do it. And maybe you should lead them in that effort. Maybe you should be the one setting it up to do it. Okay, and it may require you crossing over different ethnicities in order to do that thing that they haven't done. Try it. Many men haven't gone rock climbing. I'd never do that. Or jump out of a plane. That might not be your thing, but whatever it is, try something new. So while you're writing and taking notes, there's a couple of questions I want you to think about. Based on what I've shared with you already, take a minute and identify where you may be struggling in your area of leadership based on what I've explained. And then based on the two types of men that I talked about thus far, I want you to write down which male do you identify with the most. Then also, if you feel like you're a combination sometimes of one or the other, I want you to be honest about that too. Now, most men, here's what we're good at. Like I said, we're good at acting like everything is okay and not admitting where we're struggling. So don't just say, I'm good to go and I'm a male walking in life, because you may be in some areas, but in some areas you're not. So if you're not that way in all areas of your life, then that means you're a combination of the two men that I talked about. Okay? So take a minute, jot that down in front of you, and then I'll jump back in and move forward. All right. So here's a problem I noticed with a lot of men. We're suffering in silence. And I said that before. We're not happy with where we are. And we don't really have anybody to talk to. You're afraid to share it with your loved ones. You're afraid to even share it with your wife because you don't want your significant other to lose confidence in your ability to provide and protect. So what you have to do is surround yourself with other men that you feel open enough with that you can share, that you're willing to get off of those surface relationships. And what I mean by surface is just, oh yeah, what's going on, man? How was your weekend? Talk about sports. You're talking about a lot of things that don't really matter. Okay, most of your communication is about stuff, dealing maybe with the organization or dealing with work or whatever, but it's not digging deep into the areas of your life where you're really looking to make a difference and change. So you got to start to surround yourself with guys that are getting you out of that mode of silence, because the longer you stay in silence, the worse it gets for you and everybody else that you're responsible for. So there are 10 things that I believe that a male can do to live better, to be happier with who he is and his station in life. The first thing is learn how to do things for others. When you give to other people, that just naturally make you happy. And then learn how to ask people for help when you need it. A lot of guys, we walk around, I don't need nobody. I'm good. I got it going on. I'm all right. It's going to be okay. But that's not necessarily true. You know, you got to develop those gentlemen in your life that you don't mind helping you. It used to be a time when, you know, if you needed to move your house, you call your 5 best dogs and say, hey, man, come over, help me move. And they would be right over, you know, and you make a day out of it and you have a great time, move everything, and everything will be all right. You know, but with the invention of technology and things of that nature now, you know, that don't really happen much anymore. You know, we call movers. You know, we get those pods and things like that to move ourselves. Very seldom do we have a list of guys that we can go to and know that they'll just be there to assist us if we needed to move. And we kind of got to get back to that. It used to be a time when men would go to the barbershop and sit for hours and talk, you know, about whatever it is, sports, life, you name it. But now most barbershops will go to appointments. Or men don't have hair, so there's not much visits to barbershops anymore. But you have to learn how to do things for others. Next, learn how to connect with other people. Relationships are essential for happiness, and the quality of your relationships matter more than the quantity. So maybe the circle you're in right now is just old, you know, and you need to put yourself in a more challenging environment. In fact, I encourage people, if everybody in your circle looks like you need to broaden your circle. You need to add new people to your circle, people from different walks of life who like different food, who have different experiences, who spend their time and money different. It's important that that happens. Why? Because when men from different walks of life start to work together and agree in the areas that are like, we kind of handle a lot of the challenges that we see playing out in the world today being shown to us through the media over and over and over. And we can change that just by changing our circle. Next, here's a question of reflection. What have you done recently to make someone happy? So in the last 3 days, not your wife, not your family, but somebody outside of your home, outside of your significant other or your immediate family, write down what you did to make someone else happier. All right. If you couldn't write anything, then that's your project over the next week. Do something to make someone else happier. Okay? Not just in your immediate family. Yes, you should always be doing things to make them happy, but someone outside of your immediate family, significant other, you should try to do something to make them happy. Take care of your body. Number 3. So it's okay to eat, guys, but we got to learn how to move more. So challenge men in your life to get outside and be more active, even if it's just a 30-minute walk in the morning or a 30-minute walk after work or after you eat. So have your meal and then go outside and walk for 30 minutes, or do a little workout or something in your house in the basement or a common area where you can run in place for 30 minutes. It does not matter. Just move your body. Also, if you work in a location where you sit down a lot, learn how to stand up more. And really understand you are what you eat. So your body is like a fine-tuned machine. So take a car you're really interested in purchasing. Okay? That car, your dream car, you would put the best gas in it. You would wash it every day. You would make sure it got the best service ever. You wouldn't want nobody touching it, sitting on it, eating in it, spilling anything on it, kicking it, anything like that. Well, something more precious to you than that car, whatever it is for you, is your body. It is the only vehicle you'll have your entire life. And how we treat that vehicle is what we're able to accomplish and do. So believe it or not, if you don't eat right, you feel very sluggish. You feel angry. You have emotional instability. Okay, if you're not getting the proper nutrients in your body, everything in your life is being affected by not having those nutrients. So we have to learn how to eat better in order to change our environment. Now, you might say, man, that's crazy. Trust me, there are studies out there that have shown if you take kids and you feed them a bunch of processed food and sugar, those kids are more likely to go bananas, be in trouble, always have issues in the classroom and with the law. You take that same group of kids and you feed them food that nurtures them, food that feeds their body and gives them all the fruits and vegetables and things that they need, their behavior is totally different. Now, here's the funny part. The older you get, the more conscious of what I just said you have to be. Okay? Even though you think, well, I'm older, I can do what I want, eat what I want. Not the case. What you put in your body is fuel to your life. So remember that. Get outside in the sun more. There's research out there that shows that most people who develop cancer are deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin D comes in sources, 3 sources mainly. The sun, which most of us don't get enough natural sunlight because we're in the building all day long. Number 2, from supplements, vitamins and supplements. Number 3, from our food. So make sure when you go to the hospital or you go to get your checkups, as men, ask them to check your vitamin D level, okay? And they will tell you that you're deficient. And if you are deficient, make sure you go and start doing some supplementation, start getting outside more in the sun. Here's another question for you. When you think about being healthy, if you are on a healthy track right now, which ways do you enjoy the most about being healthy? Write that down. The other thing is, if you're X'd out of your family's equation tomorrow, what will happen to the people that you leave behind? See, every day when we wake up and you turn that key in your car, there's a possibility as men that we may not return home that day. Now, that's not something that we want to think about, but that's something that we should think about, because that would dictate our actions. That will dictate how we present ourselves in the world when we walk out the door. Because if the objective is to always leave the people that we're leaving behind in a better situation, or to prepare a better situation for them, that means the choices that we make daily will be different. Number 4, you should live life mindfully. Notice your unhealthy thoughts. Notice when your mind wanders and you need to refocus. Notice when you're starting to worry. Learn to develop a positive mental attitude about all things. And last but not least, get some professional help. One thing about men, we always shy away from doctors. We shy away from therapists. We go through life feeling like we don't need help. We got this. I'll figure it out. Okay, but there are some times when we got this doesn't work, and we're just not that good at ironing out our own situation, and so it may be a good time to go talk to somebody. So if you're on this workshop today and there's a lot going on in your life, you haven't really spoken to somebody about it, it's time to reach out. And that person may be somebody that's professional that you might need to talk to in order to get you out of the thought process or the funk, so to speak, that you're in. Question you should answer yourself right now, and I want you to be honest about it. What do you notice about where you are currently, and how do you feel? Are you happy in all areas of your life? Are you doing the things you want to do? Are you trying to find a way to get back to that spot in your life when things were, you felt like you were in control, you felt like you were making things happen in your life? Maybe health-wise, you need to do some things a little differently, or maybe you need to continue the path that you're on, or get a little bit stricter in certain areas. How's your family? What are people saying about you and your family? The people that you care about. What do your kids think about you? How's that relationship going? Your nieces, your nephews, what have you? Are they speaking well about you? Or do they want to come around you? Or do they shy away from you? You got to start taking notice of that, all right? Because that is dictating how you're presenting yourself when you can't see it. As men, if we want to be happy, we have to keep learning new things. We have a tendency to become dominant in the areas that we're good at, things that we've always done. We just like to stay the masters of those areas, and we don't really challenge ourselves to learn new things. And when I say learn new things, I'm not talking about going to get a new degree, all right, going back to school or something like that. If that's something you want to do, go for it. But when I say new things, maybe it's a new trade. Maybe it's how to repair something, fix something around the house. Maybe it's something about your history or somebody else's history. It could be something about finances. Those key areas that I mentioned before, maybe becoming more health conscious. Most of the time, men focus only in the financial area. and we kind of slack off in the other areas because we're born to provide and protect. So our total area of focus, or what's on our mind a lot, is how much money we're making and what are we able to do with that money. Especially if we're married, we think about, man, am I able to provide and pay the bills and things of that nature. And a lot of sources of the stress in most men's life starts in that area of finances, and then it starts to spill over into those other areas when the finances are not going right. So for a lot of guys, if you're trying to troubleshoot where you are, getting that budget together and those finances, at least knowing where you are financially, not necessarily having everything paid off, but having a plan will just eliminate the stress in your life a little bit. So it may be time to go talk to somebody about whatever your financial situation is. Learn to think about the possibilities instead of being optimistic. So a lot of us, learn to think about the possibilities and remain optimistic. A lot of men are what they call realists. We only believe what we can see. You know what I'm saying? Or we base everything off our past experiences. Very seldom do we have vision. Do we step beyond what's in front of us to think about something else or the possibility of something else happening? So, over the past 30 days in your life, what have you learned or tried out for the first time recently? And if you haven't done something new for the first time, I encourage you today to pick something over the next couple of weeks and do it for the very first time. All right? Men like adventure. We got to have things that challenge us. So we got to have adventure in our life, and we got to have a family, a woman, or somebody that's significant enough to us that we feel like we got to protect them or rescue them. And that's just something that we're designed to do. It's our makeup. God placed that in us when we were born, and we shy away from it our whole life. Many of us, we don't want to step up to that responsibility because it seems like it's a big burden, but really, that's our makeup. Number 6, men need to have goals to look forward to. Every year, you should be setting goals, and you should be tracking how you're doing with those goals, and you should have an accountability partner in those goals that are keeping you on point with what the things that you said you were going to do, because it's very easy to let yourself off the hook. As men, it's very easy to get stressed out and depressed and put things off that we should be doing now. So there should be somebody that you're in constant communication with about the goals that you set. Okay. It's important also to take about 15 minutes or so a day, pause, turn the TV off, put the cell phone down, and just think about where you want to be, what you're trying to do. Women get together all the time and they create vision boards. Men don't do that. We're not the biggest dreamers. Most of the time in our life, the women in our lives, whether it's our mothers, sisters, they're very optimistic about things, and they're always dreaming. So men, that's something that we have to turn on, learn to dream and believe that we can accomplish those goals. So right now, over the next 6 months, write down on that paper in front of you, what is your most important goal over the next 6 months? The thing that, and here's how you know what's most important. Typically, it's something that if you accomplish it, it will benefit other people. It will benefit you in the ways that you desire, but it will also benefit, your immediate surroundings as well as other people. That's how you know it's most important. Okay, it will position you and other people well. Number 7, we have to become more resilient as men. We have to learn how to bounce back from setbacks. A lot of times when things don't go the way we want, don't happen the way we want them to happen, we kind of go into this quiet place. We kind of remove ourselves from different environments. We don't pick up the phone as much and reach out. We don't want to be around people. We can sit for hours in that favorite chair that we have at home and watch TV and just kind of seclude ourselves from the world based on a little temporary setback. So we have to get better at managing stress, learning how to not react when we become angered or when things are not happening the way we want, and learn how to check the real evidence of what's going on in any situation, not just responding emotionally about it, but looking at the facts. And then remember that the women in our lives, it's not their fault. It's not their fault, and we should never respond in a manner or take things out on them based on what's happening in other areas of our life. We have to remember that, they were placed in our life for a reason, and we should always handle them with compassion, and approach them not with aggression, but properly, because they're there to help you. And a lot of times they offer you a word in a subtle way. It makes you mad, gets you angry, because you don't want to hear it at that time. But it's usually, what you need to hear. And that doesn't necessarily come from a significant other. I have a mentor, his wife. She mentors me as well. And a lot of times she says things, man, that, I'm dealing with or whatever. She'll say just these little one-liner things. And at the time, I'm like not really trying to hear it. But when I think about what she said and I implement it, things just seem to turn out better in my life. So, there are people all around us that offer good information that try to help us. So just keep that in mind. All right, another question of reflection. What has personally helped you bounce back from a difficult time in your life? So what we have to do as men is learn how to create repeatable processes. So when we have success in our life, we have to remember the processes and the steps that cause that success. Now, what I mean by success is not superficial worldly success, but when we've done things that have positioned us well, our emotions are good, our thought process is good, we feel good, our family's moving in the right direction, or environments are moving in the right direction, we have to remember what got us there, and we have to learn how to be able to repeat those things or get better at those things that got us to where we are, getting those positive results. Because when you have issues, you want to be able to pull back, pull those methods back that you used before to cause you to work in that troubling area in your life that's currently happening right now. Number 8, we need to learn to look for what's good. Okay, create positive emotions in our life. So one thing that I practice, either at night before I go to bed or in the morning when I wake up, I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for, or I speak out loud 3 things that I'm grateful for. So I'll say, today I'm grateful because my bills are paid. I'm grateful for good weather. I'm grateful that we're not experiencing certain challenging weather conditions like there are in the world, other parts of the world. I'm grateful for the opportunity to eat, to have food on my table. So every day I say that, something I'm grateful about. Why? Because it sets in motion how you will rest that evening, also how you will wake up that morning. So if you're going to bed at night and you find yourself constantly thinking and you're restless about the things that are not going well in your life, or you wake up in the morning worrying, or just kind of secluding yourself, or drawing back from certain situations or people in your life, learn how to be grateful. Always find 3 things every day that you're grateful for. It could be the simplest thing. It could be dumb to anybody else but you, but think about it. All right, question of reflection. Over the last 7 days, what good thing has happened in your life? Write it down. And then today, I want you to write down 3 things that you're most grateful for, and I'll give you a minute to do so. All right, step number 10, or key number 10. As men, we have to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. We have to have meaning in life. There has to be some type of cause that we're pursuing, and typically with other men. I mentioned a woman in our life that we respect, we value. It could be a mentor, it could be a significant other, it could be a mother, somebody that is by our side, that we know has our back. And we constantly have to be focused on the fact that one day we were born, someday we will die, and that dash in between those 2 dates is what our life's worth will be about, and what people will say about you long after you're gone. Okay? So we have to consciously as men be thinking about that, and as we step out in the world, be focused on creating environments, attitudes, activities that influence those type of things. So if you're not a part of something right now that's a big cause or a big goal, you might want to find a way to start associating yourself in things that are happening around you. Because I promise you, if you're in a situation in your life where you're not feeling so good about how things are going, when you put yourself in that environment and it's a positive environment, you'll naturally start feeling like you matter, like you have a purpose. And when a man has a purpose, you just wake up differently. You walk differently. You talk differently. You eat differently. You love differently. You experience life differently when you have a purpose. Okay? So, another question of reflection. Which aspect of your life right now gives you the most meaning? If you don't have anything in your life right now that's giving you a lot of meaning, that's okay. We're going to work together to figure that out. That is my goal, to assist you with finding something in your life that will create purpose. All right, based on some of the things I shared, out of those 10 keys, which key stood out to you the most and why? Write that down. And then what's going to happen is on our social media page, you're going to share some of the things or your answers to those reflection questions. So if you don't have that link already, I'm going to email it to you for attending today, and you'll be able to share on that page your answers to these reflection questions when I post them up. The next thing I find with a lot of men is that they lack mentorship. And many men will tell you, yeah, I got a mentor, somebody that they talk to every now and then, about an area that they're probably already strong in, or an area that they seemingly think that person is doing better than them in. You'll just tag that person as your mentor, but you're not really in a mentoring relationship. Here's how you know if you're in a mentoring relationship. First of all, that relationship has some type of values. It has some type of standards. There's some accountability involved in that relationship, meaning there's probably some type of every 2 weeks or monthly check-in where you're talking about the results of the area or the conversations that you've had to get you to where you want to be in that particular area. In fact, we should be mentored in every area of our life. You are blessed if you have one person that can help you in those 5 key areas that I talked about already. But if you don't have one person, you need to find a person that you can be accountable to in those areas that I mentioned. Why? Because those are areas that you constantly have to be working on. Now, when you select a mentor, it has to be someone that has proven success in those areas. Now, when I say proven, I'm not talking about materialistic things, how they look on the outside, but I'm talking about strong values in those areas, and you can tell, okay? And they're willing to work with you and be accountable, but you also have to be a good protege or mentee, which means if there are assignments or things that you have to do or things that you guys both agree upon, then you have to be in a position or posture in your life that you're taking it serious. Okay? You got to have men in your life that you're willing to have tough conversations with. And when I mean tough, things that you don't like. So if somebody challenges you about something about yourself or your personality and you don't like it, that's a tough conversation for you. But you need men in your life that are willing to do that, because if men are in your life and just allowing you to do whatever and be whatever, then there's no course correction. And so that's not someone who's challenging you or stretching you, okay? And very few men can point to 1 to maybe 5 guys that they have on their list that they allow to speak into their life in that manner, and they take heed to what those people are saying. For me, I like to surround myself with people who say, man, you kind of going off the deep end, or you might need to slow down in this area, or you might need to kind of correct yourself a little bit. because that's what life's about. If all the men around me haven't given me a fresh idea or haven't challenged me or made me do better by having to help them, then I question those relationships a lot more than I do others. So it's important as men, you find a lot of men who want to mentor the youth, but you can't mentor people without a mentor. So you got to get in a position where you may be mentoring people that are within 10 years younger than you. Then you're mentored by people 10 years older than you and maybe 20 years older than you. And for a lot of men today, this is missing because many of our grandfathers are no longer around. We don't hang around with a lot of gentlemen outside of our generation. And there's a huge disconnect between them understanding us and us understanding them. And so it causes problems. But we got to figure out ways to bridge those gaps in these 5 key areas that I mentioned: relationships, career, spirituality, finances, and health. Very important. So, reflection questions. In your life, what value do you place on mentorship? Or do you need to get a mentor? Right now, what area of your life do you find that you need the most support in? Are you currently receiving coaching or mentorship? And in what area of your life? Because you may be getting in one area. Like there are a lot of people who have spiritual advisors or coaches or mentors or their pastor, but they're not getting that coaching and mentorship in other areas of their life. So it's key that you are getting help in all those areas at men, because what we tend to do is we tend to only focus on one area and let the other areas fall to the wayside. Okay? So too much of one area, all the other areas slip. So we got to find that proper balance where we're getting the help in all areas. So there's a problem right now. A lot of times men don't listen to other men because we don't trust them. We're skeptical about what they're about to do. I'll give you an example. I'm a business owner. I'm a mentor and a coach. I run global enterprises. I talk to people, speak to people all over the world. I'm pretty athletic. I'm involved in many different organizations. I do a lot with martial arts. Just my whole life. Like I'm always doing things, right? And I'm always trying to help people. And I'm not saying that to brag to you, but I'm saying this to point something out. A lot of times I offer my services or my thoughts or my mind or my talents to individuals, and oftentimes people do not take heed to it or support it or join it or whatever it is. And I don't take it personal. But what I understand about that is that a lot of times people are skeptical of you. They're judging you, or they're trying to look for some exterior result based on materialism to determine if they're going to follow you or not. And a lot of time as men, we miss the boat. We miss out on what could be one of the biggest blessings in our life because we are judging, or we're skeptical, or we're looking at something with the side eye about what could this person really do for me, or how could this person really help me, or what is it that this person really knows about what they're going to be talking about. And so we miss out on what could be helping us based on the thought process and the pattern that we've developed over the years of becoming realists, pessimists, and skeptics. So we have to learn how to fight that. If we want to get better as men and start working together, we have to learn how to get to a point where we genuinely are trusting each other. And the way you learn to trust each other is that's about consistent behavior. When you have people around you, you know what they're going to do. They're good for their word. They're good for their actions. You don't have to question or doubt them at any time. So when you want to trust somebody, you got to learn how to make positive deposits versus negative withdrawals. Okay? And we make deposits in our words, in our actions in other people's life, or we make withdrawals in words and actions in other people's life. And here's what I mean. A deposit is something positive. Typically something we're doing for or in favor of someone. A withdrawal is something we're doing to cause harm, either potential at that time or potential harm later. That harm could be physical or it could be mental. Okay? It could be harm in the area of those 5 key areas that I've been talking about working on. It could be one of those. But that's a withdrawal. Okay? The fastest way to develop an account with someone is to stop making withdrawals. All right? So like your bank, if you want to have a good bank account, you want to keep adding money to it. You don't want to keep taking money away, and hopefully that money grows over time. So with every male that you meet, you want to hopefully be able to position yourself to deposit into that person's life, and they deposit into your life, and those deposits over time grow. Okay? You also want to make sure that if you do take withdrawals by mistake, that those withdrawals are not larger than the deposits that you're putting into that individual's life. Okay? So, 13 ways to develop trust. Talk straight. Say what's on your mind. Don't hide your agenda. Tell the truth. And always leave the right impression. Very important that we do that. Number 2, always be respectful. Our actions should show that we care, and they should be sincere. We shouldn't just run around saying, man, I care about you. You my man, or I really appreciate working with you in this organization, or whatever it is that we're doing together. But then behind the scenes, our words and actions about that individual are totally different. You know, say what you mean what you say. Number 3, create transparency. I find that a lot of men don't open up to each other, don't keep it real with each other. You know, it's a huge slogan running around now, keep it 100 or 1,000, whatever. And a lot of people just aren't doing that with each other. You know, you got to be open about where you are, what you're dealing with, what you're thinking. Have integrity in your words, your actions, your decisions, and be authentic. You know, don't try to be somebody else, just be who you are. And when you do that, you develop trust. Number 4, right your wrongs. If it's somebody in your life right now that you know you've done something wrong to, maybe you hurt them, said something to challenge them, apologize. Whether they accept it or not, as long as you apologize, you kind of get that off of your chest. All right? Don't try to justify your wrongful behavior. So with men, a lot of times what we do is we try to outwork. We try to do all these good deeds to overcome our bad deeds. So we'll do all this positive stuff, but we also have bad deeds too. So we got to kind of balance that out and start making it where everything's the same. You know, all of our deeds, all of our actions, we try our best to put our best foot forward. So you can't be an evil person but be good in the community. You know what I mean? Or a person that's keeping up chaos, or, you know, at home you're abusive to your family, but out in the world, you know, you're Mr. Everything, Mr. Accolades, Mr. Service, you know, all of those things. Who you are at home, in the world, it should line up. All right? You can't be great with your family but cause chaos in the organizations and the jobs that you're a part of. All right? And don't cover up misdeeds. You know, if something happens and it's wrong, you know, work it out. Figure it out. Come to some conclusion. Okay? Because the longer you cover up misdeeds, the more people begin to not trust each other, and it's hard for anything to function. 2 sentences that men don't hear enough. I'm sorry and I love you. And very seldom do men say it to each other because we're afraid of crossing certain masculine lines. And a lot of fathers do not tell their sons that they love them. Or a lot of sons have never heard it from their father, or didn't hear it enough. So as men, we have to get comfortable saying it to each other and meaning it, okay? Because that just makes you feel better and make you want to do more. When you genuinely know that a person has your back. Trust develops more when we're able to admit when we're wrong and say we're sorry. And we're honestly and genuinely able to tell somebody that we love them, we care for them, and we got our back, and they don't have to question it. Number 5, show loyalty. A lot of times in work, organizations, men have negative competition. They try to jockey for position. They're always trying to compete against each other. So a lot of times we're afraid to give other men credit or to lift other men up when they're doing good things because we don't want somebody to get more attention than us. So we have to learn how to give people credit for their work, their ideas, and their efforts at all times. If we fail to do that, in our families, in organizations, at work, whatever we're involved with, we start to lose the trust of the individuals that are following us. And it's important that we learn to do that at all times. Always speak about people as if they're amongst you, in your presence, okay? Whether they are or not. Don't say anything that you're not willing to tell that person straight up to their face. That hurts trust quickly. Number 6, always deliver results. If you become a person that words and actions line up, if you say you can do something, you do it. If you can't do it, say you can't do it. Don't take on things that you can't do, or learn how to get help. But if you become the clutch person, the go-to person in a relationship, the more you will be trusted, the more people will depend upon you for things that you need to get done, to include your family. Number 7, work at getting better. If you don't improve, you become obsolete. A lot of organizations today are struggling because the men are no longer improving themselves. They are no longer working at getting better or learning anything new. They want to remain status quo. You hear them say things all the time about this is the way things have always been done. They always talk in the past, never really speak in the future. So there are challenges. All right. So as a leader, you want to make sure that you're always showing that you're leading and adapting to change. And the more people become confident in your ability to lead and adapt, the more trust that is developed. Number 8, confront reality. A lot of times, people don't want to talk about what's really happening. Okay? They want to talk about the past or talk about what we need to do, but never really exemplify what needs to be done. So sometimes in order to get better, we have to talk about those tough things, like what's going wrong, and really be honest about it first. Okay? Once we understand that, then we can start talking about how we're going to move from it. And when I mean talk about tough things or be honest, I don't mean venting, but speak about it where you're talking about it, but then also providing solutions. Okay? That's more important. The next thing, clarify expectations. One thing as a leader, if you want to develop trust, never expect from somebody something that you don't expect from yourself, or something that you're not willing to do first before them in order for them to do it too. So if you were trying to get 10 guys to walk down a block and pick up trash with you, make sure you're already picking up the trash when you're asking them to help you. It's a lot easier to get that done. And if you carry that on in other areas of your life, things will just be more effective. Number 10, practice accountability. First of all, you want to hold yourself accountable. If you don't hold yourself accountable, you can't hold others accountable. Okay? So it's important that you do that. Next, listen first. All right? You develop trust by listening. A lot of times when you communicate with people, what we do is we just jump out there and we're already thinking of our answer before we hear a person out. And then we apologize for cutting people off. If you ever want to lose trust, cut people off when they're trying to explain themselves. Communication in a lot of ways is more than just words, so we have to be conscious of our body language, our facial expressions when somebody is speaking to us. It's important, that we do those things because we're looking to gain trust after every encounter with with a person or a group or family or anything. Our trust should become deeper and deeper and deeper and more involved with each other. Number 12, keep your commitments. When you make a commitment, it's important because you're building hope, you're building trust, and only commit to those things that you know you can keep your word on. Don't say you can do something you can't do it. And then last but not least, you have to learn to extend trust until somebody gives you a reason not to trust them. So a lot of men, we naturally don't trust you first in order for you to learn or to develop trust in you. What we have to learn how to do is give the trust first. Become vulnerable. That's hard to do, to upfront, just give trust, but allow that person to lose it. Okay? What we do is, you got to do something to make me trust you. Well, that's what stops men, from getting along. That's what stops men from accomplishing greatness. It's because we naturally, out of the box, don't trust each other. All right? Now, once you develop trust, You have to continue to earn that trust for a lifetime. So every action, everything that you do, everything you say should be in a manner that I want to continue to earn this person's trust. I don't want to do anything to cause this person not to trust me later on. That's so important. When we are not happy and lack trust, everything we're a part of suffers. I'm coming to a close here. In just a minute, we're going to talk about some leadership, and then we'll wrap things up. So right now, how would you describe your ability to trust others? Are you in a good space? Or are you one of those guys where, you know, someone has to prove to you that you should trust them, or do you trust people and allow them to lose it? So identify where you are on your paper at this time. So I have shared all of that other information to get to these points. When men are not happy, when men do not trust each other, when we're not leading properly in every area of our life from where we are, when we begin to close ourselves off from the world, when we're not managing stress properly, it doesn't matter what organizations we're in or what environment we're in, we will begin to affect those environments that we're a part of. That environment will become toxic. And it becomes toxic in a way where we want everything and everybody else to do things that we're not expecting of ourselves, simply because currently we're in a place in our life where we're not truly happy with who we are. So in things that we're involved with, we start putting unrealistic demands on people. We start blaming others. We're threatened by other people's success. There's power struggles. There's dishonesty. We create an atmosphere of fear. We start using people. There's no real vision or strategy, goals, values, and we lack authenticity. And if you start thinking about a lot of the environments that you're in right now, that's probably what's going on. And it's simply because men are not accepting the manner of leadership in their personal lives, and then they're not taking that out into the world and making a difference. So there are 5 levels of leadership that you want to begin to study. Those levels break down as this. Level 1 is position. Level 2 is leadership by permission. Level 3 is leadership by production. Level 4 is leadership by people development. Level 5 is the pinnacle. Most people, when we enter leadership from a positional level only. And then we have to work to reach the pinnacle. The pinnacle could take a lifetime. But that's where ultimately you strive to get. Very few make it there because it takes work. But that's the goal we're trying to achieve. Now, I'm not going to cover all of these right now. We'll do that a little bit later. But what I will break down is a couple of them. Many of us, when we enter leadership, it's based on position. Maybe someone nominated us for something. Somebody else saw something in us. We put in a resume. We were promoted to a position or a job, or for some reason, someone else had something to do with us getting there. But when you get leadership by position only, okay, maybe you passed a test or something like that, that is the lowest level of leadership, okay? You are only able to lead people by your title. So typically, there's fear involved. If that person doesn't do what you say, there's some type of repercussion, so that's why that person follows you. You know, usually if you're a positional leader, you're a boss, more than likely. The people who are following you feel more like your subordinates versus your equal, okay? And when you lead people from this level, they only do what is required of them or the least amount of work possible just to get by, okay? When you are a positional leader, all right, you're not requiring effort or ability to achieve at this level. It's just basically by title only, and it typically only works in environments where there's money involved. So usually at work, you listen to your supervisor, or because you want your paycheck. Or if you're a supervisor, people listen to you because they want to get paid. They can get fired. In the military, there's repercussions for you not following a higher ranking officer. In organizations, you can be removed from your position in that organization if you don't do what people say. But unfortunately, a lot of volunteer environments, this does not work. Being a positional leader in a volunteer organization, you won't have people following you for too long because they don't have to. There's nothing forcing them to listen to you and follow you. So where we want to get as men in area in our life is where we're developing other people around us, that whatever we do is lifting other people up to our same level, or if not a higher level than where we are, to the point where we begin to promote others, that we want to propel and launch people in to a better position or a better future than what we have. And that has to become our common thought process as men as we present ourselves in the world. So when you think about people who have led well in life, they got to that point because of their ability to empower other people to become great or to assist them in what it is that they're trying to accomplish. The ultimate goal as a leader is to reproduce yourself. If you are involved with something and you're the only person that's good at it, you're the only person that can do it, that means if you ever step away or if you're ever absent from whatever it is that you're doing, nothing will happen. So as a male, in your life, in your family, in any environment you're in, you got to constantly be creating an environment where you're developing your contingency plan. All right? Where you're investing so much in other people, where they feel so good about themselves and being around you that they are encouraged by your presence. And then what happens when you start to develop others around you is they start to perform. All right? Because they feel good about you. They feel good about the direction you were going and what we're doing, okay? And then they want to do better. And what will happen in this type of environment is that leaders will naturally produce themselves. So when you start challenging yourself to be better, and then you start encouraging others around you to do the same things based on values and principles in your life, what starts to happen is that group as a whole begins to grow. And then when you start to encourage and uplift each other, it's just amazing what we can do. And as you improve your performance, everybody else's performance will improve at the same time. So here's what I want you to do. I'm pretty much done. I want you to think about the things that we talked about today. I want you to reflect on some of the things that I share. And like I mentioned to you when we first started, I want you to begin to dialogue with the men in your life, your family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, fathers, kids, any organizations you're in, any environment where there are men around you. I want you to start asking them some of the questions that I posed to you today. And I want you to start getting them to dialogue about some of this that we talked about. Then I want you to identify the areas where you need help, okay? And start getting help. If you need help with some of that and we're not already kind of communicating or working together to get you what you need, I want us to open lines of communication, all right? And then I want you to think of at least 2 things coming out of this workshop that you're going to work on over the next 7 days. And then I want you to think of 2 things that you're going to focus on over the next 30 days after you complete what you selected to do over the next 7 days. This is very important. I don't want you to take this information, just put it to the wayside and forget about it. This workshop is something that you'll be able to go back to if you took good notes and follow along what I shared. And whenever you're at a moment in your life as a male where you're kind of down and out, not happy with where you are, don't feel like you're positioned properly, you'll have the exact tools to get you out of that funk that you mentally or physically are in order to start moving forward. Because remember, as I said, as the male goes, everything he's a part of, everything he touches, everybody he is in relationship with goes as well. I encourage you to be great on purpose, gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed this workshop thus far. I look forward to hearing your comments. If anyone has any questions, you can comment and paste them in the question box. I'll stay on the line and handle some of those questions right now. If not, we're done for this workshop. Stay tuned for the next one. You will be invited to kind of journey along with me. I'll probably be doing a 6-session workshop really soon on helping men to just be better men and get to where we want to be in life. But also there will be some retreats and things popping up soon over the next couple of months, the next year, where we get together and just men who want to do better, be better in their lives. We start talking about the values and the things that really need to get us where we need to be. So if you're going to sign off now, enjoy the rest of your day. And for those of you who want to fire a couple of questions at me, you can type those in the question box here or paste them on the social media page that I'm going to be sending out to you in just a minute. So have a good one and be great on purpose.